Hey, welcome to my podcast and YouTube channel, Unmaking a Mess. Don't forget that I'm also on Facebook, titled the same, Unmaking a Mess, and on my online blog, Unmaking a Mess. Would absolutely love you guys to check me out online because I've actually written a lot of posts. Okay, maybe not a lot, but like at least 6 or 7 since I've spoken to you guys. And I really apologize for not being on here, but to be honest, like the writing has just resonated with me so much more. But on the other hand, time is of essence too. Since my last time that I actually recorded something for you guys was before my daughter started high school volleyball, I think. And that had just taken over my life completely. No problem there because I absolutely adore watching her, and it's high school volleyball and it just goes really fast. Not only that, but I also was elected to be the team parent, which came with a lot of circumstances and responsibilities in itself. And it was a complete learning curve for me because I felt like I had to do everything that the previous mom did. The only difference is the previous mom was maybe 20 years younger than me, or more. Okay, sorry. Definitely more. And she had this big, beautiful house where she could really host the girls, as well as, their own parents' house. And yeah, I don't have that, but I was determined to make it work because it's not always about, the place. It's just about the experience. So anyway, it's been great. I'm really glad I got to do it. And of course, by the time we get to the end of the season, I think I kind of started, warming up to the girls and they started warming up to me. But I gotta tell you, there's so much I can share with you. So please log into Unmaking a Mess, my blog online, because it'll definitely get you caught up. If you like reading, if you don't, that's okay too, because now that I have a little bit of time on my hands, I'm going to go through every single one of these posts that I wrote and have not recorded, and I'm going to talk you through them, but try not to drag it out too far. I just still want to try to keep up with the recordings. And I also think I definitely want to try to get back into doing the podcast as well, in case people really start to follow me and they just want to listen. I think that's fantastic. So hey, all out there that are not watching, I am sitting in my bedroom. I've got a laptop in front of me, and I'm definitely going to start recording these so you can just listen on the go, because I appreciate it so much. Anyway, so the last time I spoke to you, I wrote about something about silencing my brain. I'm not going to go back and figure out what that was I was talking about. No clue. But I have a feeling that it has a lot to do with the fact that my brain is constantly going, literally going. And I know I've written a lot about that. And I love it because it just kind of like keeps me on top of myself and who I am. And I think as I get more into these recordings, I'm going to be letting you know how much I am figuring out who I am as usual, because things constantly are changing. And I've gone through a lot of stuff since I last spoken to you. In particularly some ridicule, some hardships, some separation of friends, some relief, some blessings, and most recently, my daughter totaled her car. But I have to say, thank God, she was totally okay, because her car was completely smashed in on the driver's side, from the driver's side door to the very back, and she had to crawl out the passenger side. So God is definitely working in our lives, even though I'm seeing a lot of hardships. You know, as usual, I can't focus on that. I went through pretty hard time this weekend as I try to navigate her through this whole ordeal. And we're kind of coming out of it. Of course, there's still the unknown. No clue what the insurance company is going to rate the car at as a total loss. When I spoke to the agent or the adjuster, you know, he told me, don't worry about it. I always do my best to try to get the most that I can for the people and stuff. And, you know, there's a part of me from years back where I'd be like, ah, thank God. And I admit, you know, he was easy to talk to, which helped a lot. But then again, I have lost so much trust and faith in people, and I'm going to get to that. And it just kind of like, you know what, I have gone back to this person that I was years ago where, you know, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. The only difference between me then and me now is I'm going to trust God through this and pray for the best. It's not that I didn't believe the guy. It's just that, okay, I'm sure you got to tell everybody that. I appreciate it. However, I'm just going to wait and see what actually happens and just super pray that they give my daughter a really decent amount for her car so we can replace it with something decent, since she works 2 jobs and she goes to school. And, you know, that's just the crappy part of the deal. It's like, this shouldn't ever happen to anybody. But of all people, my daughter, who, when the wreck happened, she was on her way to a homeless shelter to deliver pastries from the coffee shop that she works at, because they throw away everything. And yeah, you know, that's how it goes. But like I said, I told her, and the truth of the matter is, you know, the most important thing is she's okay, and we're just continuing to monitor her, because it really jolted her quite a bit. All right, so I still kind of want to like go back over some of these writings, because obviously they really meant something to me at the time that I was writing them, and it resonated with that particular day that I wrote it. And this one was written on Leaf Post. When was this written? It has to do with Ozzy Osbourne, because he was definitely one as August 1, because he was one of those musicians that we listened to a lot, as in my first husband and I, first boyfriend. And we used to go to all these heavy metal concerts, and it just took me way back to a time when I couldn't even imagine being where I am now, as I'm going to all these concerts with him, and we're just like taking it all in, doing what we can to save up the money for these concerts, and how jealous we would get of his friend that went to them all the time. And I wrote in here, and that was because his friend lived at home. My husband at the time and I, of course, we were on our own, and I don't think we had our son yet, or it was right there on the edge of settling down and then having our son. But I mean, I just wrote about it because just listening to Paranoid by Black Sabbath, which, you know, as you guys know, if you know Ozzy Osbourne, that was like one of the first bands that he was with. It just brought back so many memories. And one memory in particular was how him and his friends were so determined to have a band, a heavy metal band. And so my ex was a drummer, and then of course his friend was a guitar player, and then they had a bass player. Then I think they had another guitar player. And looking back now, it was just so cute. I know that's not the right word, but it was just so motivating. They were just determined. And even back then, I had the entrepreneur brain. I had the marketing brain of, hey, we got to get you guys out there. We need to let people know who you are and that kind of stuff. I can't really say that I did anything about it. I just felt like if they were going to do this, they needed to actually do something about it, as opposed to renting out these small spaces, whether it was like an abandoned office, an abandoned shop, or I wrote about this particular place that they rented out. Do not ask me how they got a hold of this place, but it was called the Princess Theater, and it was in downtown North Topeka before anything that it is now. Like right now, downtown North Topeka is called Noto, and it's like a fabulous area with very cool boutiques, thrift stores, restaurants. But back then, you didn't go down there, but we did. And we would gather into this theater, and sometimes other friends would show up. But for the most part, it was just me, a couple of other girlfriends, and they would set up their band stuff and instruments and equipment on the stage, because it was a theater. And they would just jam, just, 3, 4, 5 hours straight. It kind of depended on like how many drugs we had and what we were doing. I think part of that particular time, of course, weed was prevalent, and that was, not unusual, not a big deal. But I feel like that particular time, I think we were also doing meth, which meant we would be in this place like into the night, because that's what it does to you. Which is actually really ironic, because I called this particular post and video Paranoid by Black Sabbath, because almost any type of powder that you do makes you paranoid. And of course, we would. But as I think about this now and think about this whole area, we weren't so paranoid to be in this old downtown building where a lot of people wandered around, and it was just kind of like we didn't think twice about it. We went in. Of course, we didn't have anything people could take other than the instruments and equipment, and I'm not quite sure how that was going to work out, but no money. Never had any money. I guess we had enough money for drugs. But anyway, yeah, that's what it made me think about, is days gone by and what I used to do and where I used to hang out, and how things change over time, and how when you're doing those things in these places where there's no way in hell I would ever want my daughters in a place like that. I would literally get them to strip down before they even entered this house and spray them down with Lysol and sanitizer. And I didn't even do that because nothing mattered back then. We would go home exhausted, and pass out. Didn't think twice about like taking a shower before, we got into bed. And I don't know, do you ever think about those things? Like the things you used to do and who you are now and how you got through a lot of that stuff. I mean, I think I think about those things and who I was and how much I've gone through and all the changes. Like, I didn't hesitate to be like the band girl. What do they call them? The groupie. Like, I always asked him to play Paranoid because I just used to love the guitar riffs in it. I loved it. It was such a turn on, like in a rock and roll kind of way. But it's like I'm the only one there watching them, besides, a couple other girls. And I don't know, I'm going on, and I'm like, thinking back to these days and regurgitating it all. But anyway, that's what I wrote about in this. I'm really glad I'm not reading it because, it's just kind of like telling you a story. And I would love for you to read it because it is a story and it was meaningful to me back then. And it is a part of my life and who I am now. But anyway, I think as I consider those days back then and how I didn't have a relationship with Christ and how I still survived so much, it did not ever occur to me, even back then, to go to God in prayer. Definitely not the way I do now. I freak out if I don't pray before I leave the driveway. I mean, don't freak out, but it's like, it is something that I do. I have to, pray before I leave the driveway. Dear Heavenly Father, please protect our home and our pets. And if someone's home, like Clara's home, it's like, please protect Clara and please get us all around safely. And I say that every single time. I have certain prayers that I say every time. If I'm out to eat, I say certain prayers before I go to bed. And when my daughter got into this horrible wreck Saturday, I thought to myself, shit, did I not pray before I left the house that morning? Because I'll also include like my daughters in it wherever they are and my son. It's like, please protect them wherever they may go. And of course, I don't know if I said that or not. But anyway, no thought whatsoever to prayers. And definitely not like who I am now. And who I am now is a person that is just trying to get through these last years of life and rule out a lot of things that don't serve me well, that deplete me, that take a lot of energy out of me, that are very critical, that, even removing a lot of those things that, I don't want to be myself, and trying to be so freaking careful about what I say or do. It doesn't mean those things don't go, through my head. They absolutely go through my head about people when I really get butthurt. But as one hardcore rock musician said, and I listened to his book, Brian Welch of, what's Brian Welch? Come on, help me out here. Stain? No. Oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. I'll figure it out here in a minute. As he said, it was Pantera? No. Oh gosh, okay, I'm gonna have to look it up. But as he said, no one wants critical. You can't do this or that religion. No one wants the critical, you can't do this or that religion. People want authentic love. And, yeah, positively. Of course, you know, I mean, it's not like we can totally commit to that. I mean, love is so, it's so freaking hard sometimes, especially when you come in contact with people that really, you know, work you up and stir things up within you. And all you want to do is just try your best to avoid stuff like that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, I'm looking back to the time of who I was then to who I am now, and all the stuff that I went through in between, and how that has molded me into the person I am now. And I think about how, you know, there's a lot of things that have not changed. I think even back then, there was so much judgment from a lot of people who felt like we were living the wrong way, we were doing the wrong things. There was even judgment like within our circles. There was things where even I myself felt like I would get annoyed because, you know, my ex and I, we couldn't do things that our other friends did, who obviously were not living on their own. And now here I am, a single mom, still going through that. Similar judgment in a way that has just affected me so much that I'm caught between the line of I don't give a shit to I'm so relieved that this is out of my life, that I don't do drugs, that this person is no longer around me, that, or to the shame or guilt I feel of, you know, why didn't I recognize this sooner? And so I think I need to read something here. After talking to you about Brian Welch, I just want to finish up what I have here. And oh, Korn, that's who he's with. But anyway, it's like, as I was talking about past and now, if God allowed me to get through those times, he knew that he had a purpose for me. I mean, who am I to say his purpose didn't include listening to all of these crushing songs and doing all those drugs? I mean, it's not like God put them in my hands, but he didn't stop it until I had to stop it, because that's not how he works. I didn't even stop it gracefully. I just gradually quit. It just kind of like slowly started fading away. And a lot of that had to do with breaking up with my ex and not being able to have access to it anymore. But it turned me all into who I am now, whether I liked it or not. You know, too many days I look back and I don't like what I see. But however, I can look back and reference those memories to use them now to help others. And do you want to know the beauty of this? The beauty of this is not judging people for going through all that stuff now. For me to see them with the eyes of Jesus, to know that, yeah, it hurts my heart to see them hurt themselves, but to know I'm not a critic, no judge at all. That is not me. God is the judge of all. I don't have to worry about that burden of trying to determine if a person is doing right or wrong. I may not agree with what a person is doing, but I can't judge them by the choices that they're making. All I can do is love them as Jesus loved me when I was in pain in all those years. And he knew, God knew who I would become and who I was becoming during those days. 1 Corinthians 9:22, some are weak, I have become weak, so I might lead them to Christ. I have become like every person, so in every way I might lead some to Christ. How true that is of me. All those people whom those who act righteous over others are me. All those people who act righteous over others are me. I was all those things before I became who I am now. Okay. And I mean all those things: the tough, the hard, the stoned, the weak, the disgusted, the addict, the hurt, the one who made all the poor choices. All of them was me. So the next time we are thinking about judging someone by their choices, by their choices without having lived them, consider you are judging someone who Jesus loves and knows exactly who they are or who they will become. And he didn't try to change them. He loved them knowing that there is someone out there who can be someone to them and even bring the worst, like I was, to salvation. And so, yeah, it's my message that I'm going to preach all the time to you guys. Not preach, but talk about that. There's no way in heck that I'm ever going to judge somebody given everything that I've gone through. And I'm not going to stop talking to certain people just because they don't choose the same things I do or they don't believe the same way I do. I just can't do that because I just don't think Jesus was like that. And so even though all the crap I went through and all the things that I put myself through, including others and my son and my daughters, I dislike it. I regret it. I feel ashamed. I feel guilty. But God knew that. And no different when I was feeling so crappy the other day after my daughter's car wreck. I went to God and I asked him, I said, please tell me you love me. Please tell me you still love me. Because something in me did not love who I was because I was feeling so depressed and down and depleted. Anyway, that's who I am. Love you guys. Please share and subscribe. Thanks for hanging in there for the 27 minutes, probably one of the longest ones. So feel free to, well, by the time you get to this part, you've listened to it. But anyway, I think I got to the better stuff toward the end. I gotta go and talk to you guys soon with more footage. All right. Please share and subscribe. See ya.